Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling one of the most fascinating, mind-bending topics of all, the nature of intelligence. What exactly is intelligence? Is it something we're born with, or is it something we can build over time? And can you be intelligent in different ways? We all know that one person who just seems to know everything, and we might even call them a genius. But what about the rest of us? What makes us smart or not so smart? Is intelligence about knowing a lot of facts, or is it about creativity and problem solving? And here's a big question. Is there even a universal definition of intelligence, or is it more complex than we think? Today, we're going to break it down and explore what intelligence really is, how it works, and how it shows up in all sorts of different ways. So, buckle up and let's dive in. To start with, let's get one thing straight. Intelligence isn't just about being good at math or memorizing things. Sure, those can be signs of intelligence, but that's not the whole picture. For a long time, intelligence was measured by things like IQ tests, those tests where you answer questions about numbers, patterns, and logic. But here's the thing. IQ tests only measure a narrow slice of what we actually mean by smart. They're like looking at a single piece of the puzzle and saying, yep, that's the whole thing. But intelligence is way more than just that. Let's look at a few different kinds of intelligence to get a better idea. First up, you've probably heard of emotional intelligence. It's the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and recognize emotions in others. People with high emotional intelligence are great at communicating, solving conflicts, and building relationships. They're the ones who seem to have a natural ability to read the room, understand how others are feeling, and respond in ways that make people feel heard and respected. But emotional intelligence isn't the only type out there. There's also social intelligence, which is kind of like emotional intelligence but in a more people context. Social intelligence is the ability to navigate social situations with ease, to understand social dynamics, and to adapt your behavior accordingly. For example, a good leader, whether in business, a community, or even a group of friends, needs a high level of social intelligence. It's not just about what you know, but about how you interact with others and create positive connections. And then there's creative intelligence. Have you ever heard the phrase thinking outside the box? Well, creative intelligence is exactly that. It's the ability to come up with original ideas and approaches to problems, especially when there isn't a clear, obvious solution. Creative intelligence is what allows artists to paint masterpieces, inventors to come up with groundbreaking technologies, and writers to craft stories that make us laugh, cry, or think deeply. But it's not just for the so-called creative types either. Everyone has some degree of creative intelligence, whether it's coming up with a new way to organize your schedule or inventing a totally new recipe for dinner. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so intelligence is about more than just memorizing facts. But what about raw brain power, like the physical brain itself? Great question. Let's talk about that for a moment. The brain is one of the most complex organs in the human body, and its role in intelligence is huge. Brain power is often measured in terms of things like processing speed, memory, and the ability to learn new information. But here's the kicker. How your brain works might matter more than how much brain power you have. It turns out that intelligence isn't just about having a big brain or lots of neurons firing, it's about how well your brain can make connections. Some people's brains are wired to make connections faster or more efficiently than others, which means they can process information and solve problems more easily. In fact, studies have shown that there's no one intelligence center in the brain. Instead, it's all about how different parts of your brain work together to process information and solve problems. So, if you've ever heard someone say, oh, she's just wired differently, they're not totally wrong. Your brain's wiring can have a big impact on how you think, learn, and interact with the world. But don't worry, just because you might not have the same brain wiring as someone else, it doesn't mean you can't be just as smart in your own way. Okay, so we've established that intelligence is a lot more than just IQ, right? But now we get to an even trickier part of the conversation. How much of intelligence is innate versus developed? In other words, are we born with a certain level of intelligence, or can we build it over time? The answer is, well, both. Some aspects of intelligence are influenced by our genetics. For example, studies have shown that factors like memory and processing speed are partly inherited. But the good news is that intelligence isn't a set-in-stone thing. You can improve your cognitive abilities over time. That means your brain is capable of growing and changing, something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This is why learning new things or practicing new skills can actually change your brain structure and increase your intelligence. And if you think about it, this makes a lot of sense. Think about the way you improve at something with practice. If you want to get better at playing an instrument, you practice, right? Over time, your brain adapts, and those neural pathways become stronger. The same goes for other types of learning, whether you're learning to speak a new language, improve your math skills, or become a better communicator. The more you practice, the more intelligent you become in that specific area. But here's something really interesting. Research shows that having a growth mindset can actually make a huge difference in how we experience intelligence. People with a growth mindset believe that their abilities can be developed through hard work and learning. They're not focused on being perfect right away. Instead, they're open to challenges, learning from mistakes, and improving over time. On the flip side, people with a fixed mindset believe that intelligence is something you're either born with or not, and that's where the trouble starts. People with a fixed mindset tend to shy away from challenges, fearing failure, because they think it reflects their overall intelligence. But in reality, failure is often just a stepping stone to success. Now, let's take a detour for a moment and talk about how intelligence shows up differently in different cultures. What we think of as intelligent behavior might vary depending on where you are in the world. In some cultures, intelligence is defined by academic success, while in others, it might be based on practical knowledge, social skills, or wisdom. It turns out that what we value as intelligent behavior can be shaped by cultural norms and values. That's why you might find someone who's not a traditional book-smart person, but who's incredibly resourceful, street smart, or wise in ways that are equally valuable. So, there's no single measure of intelligence. It's a multi-dimensional concept that can take many forms. Here's another fun idea. Have you ever heard of the theory of multiple intelligences? This theory, proposed by psychologist Howard Gardner, suggests that there are actually many different kinds of intelligence. Gardner's theory lists things like linguistic intelligence being good with words, logical mathematical intelligence being good with numbers and reasoning, spatial intelligence being good at visualizing and manipulating objects, bodily kinesthetic intelligence being good with physical tasks, musical intelligence, interpersonal intelligence being good at understanding others, intrapersonal intelligence understanding yourself, and naturalistic intelligence understanding the natural world. According to this theory, there's no single intelligence but rather a variety of ways to be smart. So, with all of that in mind, here's the million-dollar question. What does intelligence look like in the real world? Does it show up in how many facts you can recall at a trivia night? Or is it more about how you adapt to challenges and navigate life's twists and turns? Intelligence is definitely a mix of things. Knowing facts is helpful, but it's your ability to think critically, problem solve, adapt, and learn new things that truly shows your smarts. Ultimately, intelligence is about flexibility. It's about how you learn, how you grow, and how you use your brain to navigate the world around you. Whether you're solving problems, creating something new, or simply understanding the world better, intelligence is all about making connections, adapting, and improving. At the end of the day, intelligence isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It's about what you bring to the table, how you approach the world, and how you choose to grow. And everyone's intelligence is valuable in its own unique way. So, what do you think? How do you define intelligence? Is it about facts and figures, or is it more about creativity, emotional wisdom, and problem solving? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.